North Mississippi.
It absolutely is. My family migrated from Mississippi. I was actually born in Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did you live there? A couple
I
days?
was there. No, I was born in Mississippi, and then my parents moved here when I was like 5, but I spent every summer until I was like 17 in Mississippi.
Really?
Yes.
Bougie Mississippi?
Well, of course. Southern Belle. I mean, white glove Southern Belle, you know. So, yeah, that's where, but that's where kind of my personality kind of evolved, right? That diplomacy. I remember when I met my husband, he was like, yeah, I don't think I've ever met anybody like you. I mean, I have a thing about decorum.
Right.
And
you sure do.
About, and then the whole yes sir, yes ma'am. That's just in my DNA.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think living in Chicago is such a segregated city.
Super segregated.
And
man.
As African Americans,
and blacks,
I
and
think
niggas. You know what? I'm trying to stop saying that word.
Really?
You know what? But amongst us, it's funny. I don't mind. But for all the public consumption, like, I don't know. How do you feel about like black people or saying like nigger in front of white people? Do you ever say it in front of white people?
Never.
See, but you don't do stand up. You just sing. So you don't do Snoop Dogg's greatest hits or anything. So you don't have to worry about it.
But I think that it's something that I grapple with, right? Mm-hmm. Because this higher self of like, not using this word of degradation, mm-hmm. But then there's this familiarity, and there's this warmth, that is still also kind of baked into the same word, and
that word is diabolically or nefariously, magic.
It is magic, and it is. And when I remember, like, I was in Europe, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was in Switzerland, which is one of my favorite places. And I was in Bern. And, that's how they say it. Bern.
Mr. Bern.
Mr. Bern. And so I'm in Switzerland, mm-hmm. and one of my musicians is like taking me through the city and, the cobblestone streets, and, everything is like thousands of years old, and it's just so beautiful.
Had you ever been there before?
Yeah.
Man.
And so
you've been to Switzerland more than you've been to the West Side.
I believe I have been to Switzerland more than I've been to the West Side. Yeah, absolutely. and so we're walking down the street, and the gentleman is telling me, now this building, it's made out of a sandstone. It's a sandstone building from like the 1400s or something like that. And I'm like, wow, it's magnificent. And he says, these apartments, they're really hard to get. People, really, it's a sought after mm-hmm. to live in these buildings because they're so extraordinary. Mm-hmm. And so as we're talking, these beautiful, balconies. Mm-hmm. And who walks out but a brother? Walks out on the balcony. Well, my hand to God. So a brother walks out on the balcony, and he's on the phone. It was so beautiful, by the way. The weather was so gorgeous. It was just perfect.
So when were you over there?
Last week. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. So this brother walks out on the balcony, and he's on the phone. And I'm waving. I'm like, hey. And so my guide is like, what are you doing? Do you know that person? I'm like, no, look. And I'm like, hey. And so the brother waves, and I go like this. I do the Wakanda salute. Uh-huh. And he's like, ah, he does it back.
It would have been hilarious if he said, Tammy?
That's happened to me before.
Yeah?
That's happened to me in a parking lot at 3 o'clock in the morning in Italy.
Whoa.
Crazy. But anyway, I digress. So I do the Wakanda salute.
How many times have you been to Italy?
Oh, God, I can't even count.
More than the West Side?
Shut up. So the guy who's Swiss, he's like, what is happening? Do you know him? I'm like, no, that's like, I said, that's just the way American blacks, since the movie kind of greet each other abroad. I mean, and that's really a thing. Mm-hmm. I think it's a thing because now more than ever, how do I say this? Now more than ever, it's so important to know that we all we got.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is surprising. Sorry.
No, that's I mean, wow.
We all we got.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We all we got. And we need to um we need to acknowledge acknowledge each other. Give the nod, give the smile.
We need
give
to stop.
We need to acknowledge each other in public. We need to acknowledge each other in spaces that are not normally, where you see us. So right now on that street in Switzerland, it was me and that brother. Right? It was just me and that brother. I didn't see. I wasn't on 63rd Street.
Right.
It was just me and him, and we shared that moment of connective tissue, and that was just. Again, I'm sorry, I did not expect to get so emotional, but it's real. It's real. It's real now. Yeah. It's real now, yeah. And
Well, we got us and some pistols.
Well, there's that. Yeah. So it was. It was just really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It was just really cool seeing him and then kind of explaining to him the blackness of that moment,
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah.
To your guide, who was he?
To my guide, who's one of my musicians.
Okay.
Who happened to be from Switzerland. He happened to be from the area.
Oh, gotcha.
And so he was kind of giving me a tour around. And yeah, the west side of Chicago and the south side of Chicago are kind of maligned, mm-hmm. but they're so beautiful and filled with so much culture and so much
and varying cultures, right?
Varying cultures,
yeah. So we gotta stop. Like you said, we all we got, so we have to, as much as we can, stop turning on one another and start turning toward one another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, still gotta have a pistol.
But, not in Switzerland. Not in Switzerland.
Oh, but did you hear about that? No, did you hear about that shoot? Or was that Sweden? That was Sweden. They had the shooting.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah. But they swung into action immediately and enacted some law. They don't mess around. If like in Australia, they had that mass shooting some years ago, and they immediately banned assault weapons. And
yeah. But, I mean, that's the thing about Americans. I knew
white people
during Sandy Hook.
White people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When Sandy Hook happened, I was like, okay.
Right. This is it. Yeah.
But they love their guns more than they love their babies.
White people in this country particularly are never going to let go of their guns. Here's the reason. They feel like guns are the only thing that is standing between them and karma.
Mm.
They know that's how they got this land, and they figure that's the only way they can hold on to this land because it's stolen. That's why they're never going to get. They think this wall of guns is the only thing that's protecting us from the consequences.
Well, see, that's just the thing, right? And it's fascinating. What really is fascinating is the Black psyche. And not us being pacifist or,
Right.
If we really wanted revenge, if we really wanted, a comeuppance, if you will,
mm-hmm.
That's something that I think would have occurred long before. I believe James Baldwin said it best. He was like, I just want you to leave me be. Right. Leave me to be a husband. Leave me to be a father. Right. Leave me to be a homeowner, to be a businessman, to be whatever. Right. Just leave me alone. Right?
Yeah.
They study us in a way that is so complex and strange. When I really don't think if they banned guns, it isn't like we en masse would come bothering them.
Well, no.
On a whole, we don't bother them. They just bother us.
This is what I'm right. Exactly. No, I'm saying this is what they feel.
It's a fear.
It's a fear. That's what they project.
Yeah.
But because they know that's how they got it. That's how they got everything. But that's not the issue because Black people don't feel like. This is my theory that Black people, and I would say, there's non-whites all over the world, but particularly Black people, you ever hear white folks say this thing about the replacement theory, right? The great replacement theory. That's real with them. That's real that they will be replaced because they know that they are the aberrant race because all things come out of Africans. All races come out of Africans.
All shades come
out of Africans.
That's right.
Black people don't think in those terms because black people have no genetic fear of white people. They don't, black people don't worry about being absorbed out of existence. White people do.
I guess I can see where you're coming from because I think the biggest thing with them is that, in their living room are these brown little babies.
Right.
And so it's like real for them.
Right.
Like they're looking at, one or two generations and then,
Right. Right.
So it's real.
It's real.
I mean, and of course the media every 5 minutes has a little, mixed couple, right, on the television. Right. So I mean, it's a fear that I think is real. But when it's all said and done, there's people like us that travel around the world and get to express to people, and introduce people to what African Americans are really like. I mean, were you traveling recently?
Well, yeah, but I'm ask you this: since you, how did they feel? Since you were just over there last week, what was their opinion on us having some Americans, not us, having elected this lunatic as president?
Honestly, I was met
with a couple. I mean Donald Trump. I'm gonna get the lunatics, I'm gonna specify.
You gotta specify.
You gotta pick a tick.
This was so interesting. I was actually having breakfast with a couple who lived in Chicago, go back and forth between Chicago and Switzerland. Yeah.
Wait. Was this prearranged or you just happened to run into a couple?
They just happened to be in my show.
Wow.
They just happened to be in my show, and
so they weren't even on the West Side. I love the West Side is cool. I'm just playing that for laughs. This thing is on air, and I won't be able to go to the West.
You will not be able to go to the West Side.
Yeah, that's that motherfucker. Woo!
They were. They found it very interesting because they said, as Europe, we are very aware. Yes.
Okay.
They were Swiss.
I'm talking about the couple from Chicago.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I know white people.
No, it's not that. I was just wondering, what the dynamic was.
Yes. And so they were like, it's very interesting to watch Americans go down this path because we very much know what fascism looks like.
Black people do in this country.
Well, I don't know if we call it fascism, but she was telling us, it seems as though Americans don't know what fascism looks like. Oh. I said, well, they're going to learn today.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, this whole, in the media they call it the first 100 days. Why does it seem like this 30 days has felt like 100? It's felt like
this 30 days has felt like 4 years. Trump, and I've said this, but then I've heard other people say, but this is true. Usually, right, somebody becomes president and they get markedly older. Trump is the only president where the population got older. He made the population look older once he was done being president.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So what were they saying about Trump?
They were just very curious. They didn't really understand. And the lady was like,
understand what though?
She was like, he's not a very smart person.
And did you say that's because we're not a very smart country?
And I mean, when I say there was puzzlement, I mean, she was like, very puzzled and very confused that this choice was made in such an emphatic way.
Yeah.
And she was like, we have people who share the same opinions. That's nothing new. But she said, but of all the fascists?
You got to pick that dumbass fascist?
This was your and that was so embarrassing. That was really embarrassing because she was like, you know what? You know, Germany's doing the same thing.
Right.
France is doing the same
Right.
thing. It's nothing new. It's
Brazil,
nothing.
yeah.
It's nothing odd.
Right.
But it was the person.
Right.
Not it was. That's the thing. It wasn't the practice or the political opinions. It was the person. Like, this is such an unintelligent person.
Right.
I'm confused.
So it wasn't like, it wasn't that it was a fascist. It was that particular fascist.
That particular fascist was, you know, odd.
That's hilarious.
Was odd. And I was just shaking my head like, oh wow, this is so embarrassing.
So that was like a double embarrassment. First of all, we drifted into fascism, and then we got to pick the dumbest fascist of all the fascists. Yeah, man.
So yeah.
Was this your first time being out of the country since Trump got elected?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second time. Yeah.
Oh, the second time.
Yeah.
Where was the other time?
Was he elected that? Was he in office that?
Or sworn in, I should say.
Yeah, since he got sworn in, yeah, that was my first time leaving the country.
Okay. What? Yeah. When did he get elected? November 5th.
January.
No, he was elected November 5th.
Right.
And so had you been out of the country since November 5th?
No.
Okay, so that was the first time.
Yeah.
Man, woo!
Dwayne, talk about your time in DC.
Time.
Sorry.
I was on Florida. Say a little bit more now.
Okay.
Now transition.
You know, I think the thing that's most interesting is being able to interact with people and being able to just be myself. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of artists gravitate to Europe. You know, James Baldwin,
Langston
Hughes, jazz musicians,
yeah.
People of African American descent. I think I can speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
My experience is that you have this feeling of being a citizen, right? So you're a good citizen or a bad citizen. And my color was not part of the equation. And the people made you feel, no matter where I go, I just feel this sense of warmth, this sense of love. My favorite place on earth is Italy. And it's like an entire country just waiting to give you a big hug.
Yeah. Now you when I first met you, you had been going to Italy. You've been going to Italy a lot.
I've been going to Italy since 1995. Okay. That was the first time I went. And for months on end, went to Italy, Switzerland, Germany, Slovenia, Bangkok.
That's where Melania is from, Slovenia.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah. I wonder if she ever saw one of your shows.
I don't think so. She was probably busy.
Busy being
No,
I was gonna say busy.
Oh, see, my mind.
Busy with her training with the KGB.
Oh my goodness gracious!
You know, so they would know who to plan her with the useful idiot.
Oh.
They gave her a book of useful idiots, and they said this is the one you're gonna be with. Whoa!
Grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah, but so that was his first show. First time you've done a show in Europe since Trump got elected.
Mm-hmm. Have you done a show since Trump got elected?
I was, and this was 2 weeks ago, I did a show at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In his hood.
Yeah, with W. Kamau Bell. Yeah, so I opened for Kamau, and I think that was the first show done since Trump announced that he was taking over.
The Kennedy Center.
Right. Yeah.
He let go of one of the board members.
Right? Yeah. He let go, and he's been firing board members. They've been quitting. Yeah. So, but the show was great. I mean, we did it because they have like various size performance halls. And we did it in like the 1,500 seat theater. He sold it out. Wow. Yeah, and it was fantastic.
That's great.
People loved it. You know, anything you said about Trump, you know.
But what's the subject matter or the sentiment behind you and Kamal's show and your comedy. Your comedy is based in racial, political,
all of that.
all
Yeah,
of that.
social commentary, racial commentary, political. I'm more. I do more social commentary, I think. And then people always say, "Oh, you're a political comedian," but it's not really. I like to talk about why people do the things that they do, their behavior, and then race because that pervades this entire society, you know. But I don't do a whole lot of jokes about it. Hey, you see what the mayor was talking about today? That guy, whoa, boy, I'd hate to be his primary. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like that. Although I've certainly said things about Trump, but less because of him being a politician and more because of him being a psychopath. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was cool.
Did you get a chance to connect with any of the audience?
In what regard? I mean, I came out on stage.
I mean, after the show, because I mean that's how I got in contact with the folks that I talked to. Is after the show.
Yeah, there were some people there. There were some people that had come to see Kamal, and then after the show, they came backstage and we talked, and I talked to them. I like the show, and we actually wound up going to dinner with a few of them because Kamal was working with some cats that came to the show.
Can we cut for just 1 second? I'm sorry, I didn't mean for that conversation to lead into more conversation about Kamal. I like less about Kamal and more about your experience.
Let me get to it. I was going.
Oh,
yeah.
I just wanted to guide you that way. That's all.
No.
Sorry.
I'll get to it.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
But cut that shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That motherfucker got all the.
No, let me.
You're right. Okay, I'll be good.
Kind of effed up my flow again.
I'm sorry. My bad.
I'm sorry.
Where was I?
You caught that again.
You were talking about.
Not that strange, okay?
Oh no, my fault. No, okay, no, okay.
She's pregnant. Jesus.
No, it's okay.
No,
It's okay.
No. Look. Okay, where was
You were talking about the people that came backstage after the show.
Yeah.
I was trying, like you guided me. I was trying, because you pitched that to me and I was like, so, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to guide you into any interaction that you had the way you had guided me. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if that didn't happen, then it's not perfect.
Yeah. Let me see.
Hey, if you want, just as a pickup spot, just because we're gonna cut anyway, and we're gonna do like that little bloop thing or whatever. It's funny actually that this happened twice, so it could be a two. It could be a two thing. But
That would be funny.
And I think we just play on that like, man. Right, I'm back here. All right, so what happened, guys?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now I'll give you a good pickup.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not trying to point fingers. I don't want to do that.
I got you.
I don't want to do that. Okay. I'm ready.
So what happened?
So
After the show.
yeah.
What was it? One of your jokes that you found the crowd was even most responsive to?
Well, I mean, they were so ready for anything indicting Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff wasn't even joke. I just opened with he's a psychopath. Oh, he is a psychopath.
Yeah, but everybody just knew what you.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I did things about him, but then also just things about racism that didn't have less to do with Trump, but just asking a joke I have about asking white folks do they ever think that, or asking the audience do they ever think that white supremacy is ever going to end? And then I said, of course not. No, it's not going to. That's never going to end. Why would it? You know what I mean? Like when I always get suspect of any white folks who always, when you get the white folks that deliver, we gotta dismantle white supremacy. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What's your problem? But yeah,
We're winning.
Right. What you better shut But I did one joke that after the show, I went out to dinner with these cats, and they were from Ghana. Oh, that's what it was. because there were some cats in the audience from Ghana, and I mentioned something about going to Ghana after the election, after the way it turned out. So after the show, we were all out to dinner. He said, "Oh, you meant?" No, he came backstage. "You mentioned Ghana. We from Ghana. You want to go to Ghana?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to visit." So I gave this cat my number. I haven't heard from him. I don't know. Might have been the old Ghanaian hustle, you know. Yeah, but
you go mess around and be like,
yeah.
I'm a Ghanaian prince. And
Right.
too.
Remember Dwayne
I
King?
need
What
you-
happened? That brother went to Ghana. Never heard from him again.
I need you to send me $700,000.
Right. Is that all it takes to get to Ghana? Yeah. So yeah. It was but it was good. I mean, like I said, it was a good crowd, sold out. But then the people who worked there were bumming. There was a woman that was telling us after the show that they were already, this cat that's supposed to be working for Trump. They saw he was walking through the building and just looking at surveying everything, and somebody, few people had been fired. Some people were quitting. This woman she had just been there 2.5 years, but she said she's probably going to quit. Yeah, so it said, the morale is very low. They didn't put somebody got fired from the board. They put Lee Greenwood. You know what that is?
No.
And I'm proud to be an American. The cat that wrote that, they put him on the board of the Kennedy Center.
Wow.
Yeah. So they've introduced a whole hillbilly faction.
Oh.
Yeah, man. So they said that of
What? Of all the fascists.
yeah, of all the that already, what is it? Audience members or bookings have dropped like 50%. Yeah. Ticket sales have dropped 50% at the Kennedy Center. He's gonna run that into the ground like he did casinos and like he did
all
everything.
businesses.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I find it fascinating that, and I'm curious to see what you think. This idea that there is a culture that they have that is outside of us and our contribution. I mean, like, so, okay, now we're going to present white culture, or we're going to present culture that is not DEI. And I'm like,
whatever that means.
But we created everything.
Right. Everything.
We created jazz, blues, gospel, punk rock and roll.
Right. Country.
Yeah. The banjo is from Africa, boo. I'm sorry.
Right.
Poor little tick.
Right.
But I mean, the bottom line is that what is this notion? What do you believe this notion is? That what do they think they're going to purvey that is not already being done?
First of all, they're misinformed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again fear and ego. We are afraid of what is happening. We are afraid of the blacking and the browning of this country. We are afraid. Here's the thing, again, with white people, in the aggregate, not every single white person. Some white people are good. I know 3 of them. Listen, but in the aggregate is that they are, and this is what causes the problems, because you are pathologically greedy and have a compulsive need for control. And when you have that, you're going to always be in distress because you can't have everything and you can't control it. And only thing that you can really control is yourself.
But isn't it really a sense of low self-esteem?
It might be that. I have a theory.
This feeling of being in competition all the time?
I think it's a biological predisposition born out of where they came from, coming out of the cold weather in the caves of Europe. I think that breeds a certain pathology and a certain type of approach to life, because when you are in an area where
kind of a survival of the fittest kind of thing, you mean?
Well, because when you come up in an area where everything is, when it's cold, it's scarcity. So you
scarcity mindset.
Yeah, so they have a mindset of scarcity. So with white folks, generally, they brought that mindset, and because they're the most brutal race, because everybody commits violence against one another. White folks, I think, are hyper aggressive and they're more thorough with their violence, and they're more bloodthirsty, and they took that area, they took that bloodthirsty nature and that mindset all over the world. You know what I mean? It's like they got good at it. We are good at slaughtering people. Let's take this act on the road. And they went places where, and I talk about this in my act, is that they went to like warm weather countries where things are in abundance, things are plentiful. We don't even have to run. Things are growing everywhere. We have enough for everybody. So they have that mindset. And you come for a person with a mindset of, we come from a place where not that much is growing. We have to kill everything that we have. And we have to hoard it because lest we lose it. When we approach you, it's not like, oh, we're here to share it. They're thinking, oh, we can take all of this. Because you all don't seem to be of that mindset. Sharing. Okay, sharing. We taking all this. Columbus said that in one of his journals. Yeah, they were so friendly. We were like, we could take all of this. That's that mindset.
They were so friendly.
Yeah.
We could take all of this. Like, that was the notion. They were so friendly, we can build something, but they were such marks. That's the Chi-Town. That's that Chi-Town. They were such marks. We could just roll in there and take all this.
That's what it is. So that, again,
Is he from Chi-Town?
Columbus, it's got a Columbus Street, but so that mentality is, you're dealing. This to me is like, that's when you say white people are evil. Is it? I think it's just a matter of environment and what you are coming up against when you deal with the person from an environment like that. It's a biological imperative. So in your mind, they're greedy.
Or they're mean.
Well,
but it's
just their biological imperative. We have to have everything because and their mind still, it's like a dog that still paces and scratches.
Right.
Even though they evolved from wolves maybe 80,000 whatever years ago, they still have that mindset. It's still that same mindset of that cold weather mindset. We still got to have everything. And so for them to let Tammy in to do a little bit. For you, it's like for you to receive from them, it's like, yeah, but they're not sharing. They're just giving me a little. For them, we're giving you too much.
Wow, that's fascinating. You're smart, Dwayne.
Well, I was gonna put this in a book, which I still might. I don't know. But that's the whole thing. So it's a different perspective, right? It's like, white folks hoard everything. White folks are like, we only have 95% of the stuff. In our minds, we're sharing. We're sharing too much. This whole thing now with MSNBC and the DEI now, right? With Trump is giving white folks permission to be who they are. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting.
To act on their base impulse.
This is really interesting.
Yeah.
What is his name, Lord? Glaude. Dr. Glaude.
Oh, Claude Anderson?
No.
Eddie Glaude.
Eddie Glaude.
Yeah.
Dr. Eddie Glaude.
Yeah, from Mississippi.
Is he from Mississippi? Of course you are. Dr. Eddie Glaude was on television after Trump won, talking to this woman who I do not understand why he talks to this woman. She drives me absolutely bonkers. And I don't know her name, and I don't care to. But 2 times I've seen him imploring America. I mean, he was just so filled with passion around the subject matter of asking to be seen, right? And so one was, I think both times were during the Trump administration. But he was talking to this woman. Who is it that, if you pull up Eddie Glaude on CNN, that woman...
MSNBC.
No. I think he was talking to a lady on CNN, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's MSNBC.
I know he's a regular. He's a pundit on MSNBC.
Is it? Oh, then it is MSNBC.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a young white lady on MSNBC, and he said she was talking about this talking point, this notion. Well, people are concerned about the premise is why did Trump win? People are concerned about economics, and they're concerned about this, and they're concerned about that. And he was like, I know you don't believe that. And I was like, oh, baby Jesus.
He wanted to say, now you know you bullshit.
He was like, and he was like, and I guess, they're friends, like, and on the outside, from the outside looking in, all of these pundits, all of these people, they know each other.
Yeah.
He was like, girl, I love you to life. You know how you say you love you to death? He
Right.
said, I love you to life, but I know you don't believe that.
Right.
You can't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
That people, this is not about eggs. This is not about
at all.
This is just
All
not
the
about
price of
that.
gas or none of that.
But that's the reoccurring theme that they've been, pawning off on television.
Yeah.
That
Because they don't want to face the truth of themselves.
they don't want to face this truth.
Or admit it.
They don't want to admit it of their friends, their neighbors, their loved ones. Because just because they don't feel that way, then you feel the need to have this, want to give grace, right? Like it couldn't be. It couldn't be.
Right. It couldn't be what we see that it obviously is. It can't be that. It can't be the truth that we are racist and sexist. It can't be that. It's got to be them eggs.
It's got to be they need eggs to be cheaper.
Is it Stephanie Rule you're talking about?
Do you see her in the video?
So I'm looking at an article about it. So you're telling me, Stephanie, that all these people who believe that their lives are that bread is too high and eggs are too
Yes.
high, that they voted
Oh,
for a convicted
okay.
felon.
Yes.
The guy said he can grab the pea.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I saw. But you know what's even more delicious? As we talk, what's her name?
Stephanie Rule.
Stephanie Rule.
Who's one of the hosts of MSNBC.
Mhm.
She has the 11 o'clock show.
Stephanie Rule. When else am I going to have the opportunity to say this to you, dear? There was another time when Brother Glaude was on your show and he was near tears talking about his disappointment and he was imploring white folks to step out of this destructive mindset of racism and classism and really pour into their humanity. And he was talking and he was saying, and this, and you should do this, and you should do that. And I mean, everybody else on the table was silent. Everybody recognized that this was a moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is a moment that's happening right now. And she said, and then what? I want you to find that video. And so our listeners can see what I'm talking about. Because everybody was focused on him, but I was focused on you, my dear. I was focused on the way that man poured his heart out to you, imploring this empathetic mindset. And you were just like, and then what? And I remember thinking like, wow. Was that the producer in her ear? Or did she really not get it?
Mm-hmm.
Did she really not feel it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment that I was like, wow, you are really, to a certain extent, did the tree really fall in the forest? If there was nobody there to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they can't even feel what you're talking about. The table was silent. The looks on the faces of everybody. Even some people were just looking down like, damn, I thought he was going to cry.
Mm-hmm.
And the way she was so, that's the word I was looking for. Obtuse. The way you were so obtuse about that man's passionate plea was fascinating to me. Maybe you should watch it. Maybe she should watch it back sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
just a thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can appeal and appeal and appeal, man. And I've seen it too many times, you know. I don't, again, I always have to say, for clarity's sake, not every white person, just most of them.
Shut up, Dwayne.
No, but really.
I mean, really.
So, you know, I'm done with the fake epiphanies. You know, remember when George Floyd got murdered and all of a sudden white folks saw stuff they had never realized before? And then again, which was the whole impetus for the whole DEI thing with companies. Oh, we're going to start including people and this and that. And then what happened? And then that built up, and then Trump gets in, and all these companies that had this epiphany and started wanting to just be equal and fair society. Yeah, you know what? There's enough with that equal and fairness. Back to regular.
Well,
You know
back
what I
to
mean?
regular isn't serving everybody too well. Target sure found out.
Yeah,
What
well,
did the kids say? Fucked around and found out.
well, we're gonna have to. I want to get a list of all the companies that have ended their DEI programs. I tell you which one has not. Costco.
Costco, yeah, a lot of us are going to Costco.
Yeah,
But
Costco.
you know, I mean, a lot of it just has to do with there's two things happening,
Mhm.
and I learned this a long time ago. Just because the North didn't have slaves,
Well,
wait, we say, you know, people love to say, well, the South was bad and the North was good. Just because the North didn't have slaves didn't mean they didn't know what was going on. Didn't mean they didn't make, you know, build resources off of it. So I say that to say,
Mhm.
just because these other companies are smart enough not to open their mouth about
Sure.
it. So I mean, the thing is, just do your homework. Do your homework
Yeah.
and support people that support you.